Hey guys, welcome to True Vine Talks with Rachel and Linda. We are wrapping up the Hold Me Tight series with Dr. Sue Johnson. Our last chapter is ways to keep love alive in your marriage. And this is one of the most important parts um, of the Hold Me Tight book. When you leave therapy, if you were to come to Rachel or I for couples, this this is the part people usually kind of they quit therapy. You notice that, Rachel? Like they've
Yeah.
de-escalated, they're sharing their unmet needs, their fears with each other, they're not fighting anymore, and then they feel better, and then they leave, and then they get back in their cycle because they didn't learn these things. We didn't get to that part, right? And you know,
Right.
that's why
Yeah.
when you're in therapy, you want to see it through to the end, or you want to do maintenance, come once a month, see how we're doing as a couple. Because you can slip back into demon dialogues and
Oh,
your
yeah.
cycle.
Especially during like stressful times in life, if there's a new baby or a career change or a crisis. Yeah.
A COVID,
A pandemic,
all these.
Everyone's all of a sudden working at home, getting on each other's nerves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to work harder right now in your bond than any other time, I think, in history. Because that's the person that you're leaning on for your own survival and for your family's survival. That's the one person that you're living with and in isolation with right now. And if you all
Right.
fighting, then it's not good. You're going to feel it. So
Yeah. Yeah. I like to think of love and an emotional bond as like a something that's organic and it takes nurturing, right? So you think of like a plant, you got to have like good soil, you got to make sure the roots are strong and healthy, right? You got to water it, it needs sunshine, fresh air, right? Love's kind of the same thing. We don't just like tell someone I love you with words and then that's that. Like it takes work, it takes effort, it takes maintenance, energy, time, commitment. It takes a lot to make that last and continue to grow. And so this last chapter of the book, right, keeping your love alive, is how we do that, how we do that maintenance.
very
Yeah.
well said. Yeah, I love the
Yeah.
plant analogy. Very good, Rachel.
Yeah. Thanks.
My plants usually die. It's,
I have to grow like cacti,
I
aloe
said,
vera.
yeah, but that's right. If we would water it and put it in sunshine, it would be so lovely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for that analogy. That's great.
Yeah. So one of the first things in this last chapter that Sue talks about is, knowing how to nurture the bonds of love, right? Create and sustain a connection that provides a dependable refuge from life stress, a safe haven, and a web of intimacy. And remind yourself as often as you can that this is what gives your life meaning, right? This relationship is important. How can I nurture it? How can I create and sustain a meaningful connection with this person?
Yeah. Um, I like the part where she says a safe haven. In
Yeah.
order to, yeah, you know, like when you played tag. Remember playing tag,
Yeah.
and you had to find, yeah, oh, that tree's the safe base. Remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. No one can get me there. Yeah. That's your partner. They're your safe space. I love that.
Yeah. So everybody would run to the tree like immediately. You know, they didn't want to get tagged. Kind of like that. You don't want to get. You don't want to be the one tagged in life. You don't want to be the one that's left out there in the field to get hurt. And so you want to run to that tree, and your spouse is that tree sometimes in life. And I feel like
Yeah.
God is, of course, my rock, but my spouse, he's got to be that tree there for me. When life, when people are chasing you and there's a COVID and an election and an uncertainty and a this and a that out here, you need somewhere to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love telling couples that, at the end of the day, no matter what has happened, the baby's screaming, the dog's barking and tearing up the couch cushions, and you've had a horrible day at work, and you just burnt dinner or whatever, the chaos of life surrounding you, you can always look at one another and remind yourselves, like, we got this because we have each other. We're going to get through it.
Yeah. No man is an island.
Yeah.
Thomas Merton. Um, yeah, I gotta throw in those monks and stuff. I like their stuff. Such a nerd. So the second part, in keeping your love alive in your marriage, is learning how to reach for each other, and then just solving those everyday problems, like if you know your tire goes flat, or say the like our fire alarm is going off. It keeps going off in the middle of the night, and hey, that can be stressful. You're being woken up at 2 a.m. So hey, let's collaborate and figure out, do we need to put a battery in it? Just everyday problems. Um, Kids getting sick, the bills. How do we reach for our spouse and say, hey, can we work this together, or not get mad at each other because we expect them to do something and they didn't do it. I think it's these everyday problems can be triggering sometimes. So yeah, I think that's how we learn how to reach for each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, knowing those raw spots, keeping those in mind, right? Don't forget about those, because those are one of the first things you learn in couples, right? Was the second conversation. So being continually aware of your raw spots and not sliding back into those negative patterns, that negative cycle, blaming, criticizing, or avoiding one another. Right? We do that by what you just talked about, learning how to reach out and ask for help, ask for support.
Yeah, because you're really it's easier just to go ahead and attack someone when you're feeling stressed, or you're feeling vulnerable or weak. So it's just easier just to go ahead and attack the person closest to you and be like, blame them. But hey, does that really work? Ultimately, it doesn't. So it's just better to, process, hey, what's happening? We're getting ready to, I'm pushing your button and you're pushing mine. Um, and that moves on to number 4, which is to remember to deliberately diffuse the argument and create a sense of safety, rather than moving into the negative cycle again. um, if money is a hot topic for the both of you, then how do we diffuse the fight or flight mechanism before we talk about it? Well, like Dan Siegel says, we want to name it to tame it. Oh, man, when we talk about money, I get so scared, because I didn't have a lot of money growing up. And so when we talk about it, there's a sense of there's not going to be enough. So I do get defensive when we talk about money. So naming it to tame it, that will slow it down. And then your spouse is like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's right. That's very scary for you. So let's sit down and talk about money together. And I will recognize that it's scary for you and it looks like there's not enough, but there's always enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those beautiful kind of hold me tight conversations right? Using the ARE, being emotionally accessible, responsive, and engaged.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
very good.
Yeah. And then, because at this point the relationship is stable and we're able to have these close conversations, we don't always have to be, like focusing on the negative, right? Or mitigating conflict. We can be celebrating those positive moments,
Mm-hmm.
right? And reflecting on moments in daily life, reinforcing positive impact, right? That you have with each other, right? So just, telling your partner, like, I'm so grateful for you. Thank you for cooking dinner. You know, thank you for doing the laundry. That means so much to me. It's so helpful. I'm so happy that I have you in my life to, reach for support and comfort at the end of a stressful day.
Yeah, I didn't hear a lot of that growing up. In between my
Yeah.
parents, I didn't hear a lot of positive uh, language. And so my clients, you'll always say, man, I wish everyone would talk to me the way you talk to me in therapy. And I just say it's a skill set. It's, I read so many books on how to interact with people. I know people think I'm just naturally good at this, but no, no, no. Uh-uh. You got to learn how to engage in compassionate communication.
Yeah. Yeah. And empathy, I'm learning, is something that the world is lacking at the moment, right? I see a lack of empathy in the news, a lack of empathy on social media, a lack of empathy in a lot of relationships.
Yeah, language is everything. I
Yeah.
can either tear you down or I can build you up.
Yeah. Yeah. If someone is angry and upset, I don't have to ag- agree with what they're angry and upset about, but I can acknowledge that they're really mad and frustrated right now, right? And I can know that no one wants to live their life feeling mad and frustrated all the time.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Acknowledging that they're angry. Um,
Yeah.
that's great. Let's acknowledge you're passionate about this. This matters to you. You are mad. Okay. Yeah, you have a right to be mad right now. And then let's not get into tearing each other down because we have differing opinions, differing parties, differing ideas. Um, this is the most, yeah, I know this is sort of veering off a little bit. I've never seen language used just in America to destroy one another. I think it's social media. I like social media, but there's a part of there that's, you're behind the
Yeah.
screen. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's so important to watch. How do I use my language with my spouse? And I didn't see a lot of that growing up, like I was saying earlier. And I meant to say, I got off on a tangent, is when Charles cleans the kitchen or sweeps and mops, I say, thank you so much for doing that. I am so time crunched. Thank you so much for cleaning. Never heard that growing up. And people think that's silly. Well, they should be doing that anyway. No, no, they don't have to do that. Nobody has to do anything.
No. Yeah. No. And I know personally, like when someone thanks me or notices, right, and I can tell that they are appreciative and they value what I'm doing, that feels good. I like that. So why would other people not also like that? And why would I not want to share that with my partner, the person that means the most to me?
Yeah. Instead of just taking them for granted.
Yeah.
I think are we on number
Number
seven?
number 6.
Number six. To mark moments of time spent apart and coming back together. Um, when your spouse would have to go on a business trip, or in my case, the military trip, and when they come back, how did we reconnect? Oh, we went on a walk together. We sat down and ate a dinner together, or we talked about what they did when they were gone. And so we want to create these rituals together so that we feel connected to one another, and making sure, even though we were apart, we were still bonded in our heart, and we want to acknowledge that with some type of ritual. I think she means to, maybe that's down the way, but you know, having a daily ritual like
Yeah.
showering together, walking together. It doesn't always have to mean sex, it can mean other things: holding hands, walking the dog, playing with the dog, talking to your kid together, those things.
Yeah. Yeah. I think rituals are really important in relationships. And this wasn't something that I had ever thought about or heard of until I started learning about EFT, right? And the work that Sue Johnson has created. And I think it's really important, even just having your cup of coffee together every morning, or a hug and a kiss goodbye before work, and then when you're both back home together, right? The little everydayness,
Mm.
right, is so important, much more important than you realize.
Yeah, cementing the bond,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like when you and
Yeah.
I don't even do our podcast like weekly, or we don't have our meeting weekly, I'm like, man, I'm just like really feeling disconnected for Rachel. It's funny, but it's interesting how these things we do really create connection and a ritual that matters to us.
Mhm.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So, no couple or any relationship is always going to get along all the time. You're going to have conflict. No two people on earth agree on everything, right? It's just not possible. So, number 7 is, you know, if you are getting stuck and you are in conflict and you're having trouble getting through it, remind yourselves of examples of how you got unstuck before in the past. How were we able to repair something like this in the past? How did we reconnect and forgive each other then? Right? How can we apply that now?
Yeah, like is it reaching for their hand and saying, hey, we're in this together. We might have just had a blow up. We're not leaving each other. What can we do to make this better? Let's just, yeah, let's do something good. Let's go back to when we were close again. Because you're not going to forget the positive moments with your spouse. It's just negativity. In the neuroscience, our negative memories override our positive memories every time. So the human mind is bent towards negativity. So in knowing that, we have to really like mentally focus on what went right. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, it's work to stay calm, positive, and engaged. It's work to stay. Oh yeah, I remember when we hiked to that rock and how fun that was, or remember that time we were ice skating. Just things that you got to go back to some good memories to keep it close. Repair those negative interactions. Oh, and we come to number 8. You want to enjoy a great sex life by ensuring the emotional connection is secure. So the physical intimacy reinforces emotional intimacy, openness, gentleness, and love. Um, so
Like
it,
what we talked about last week, you know,
yeah,
or not last week, but in the last podcast.
yeah. Yeah, so if I feel distance from you, or I feel like you looked at me a certain way, I'm not interested in sex. No, we need to feel connected in the heart. I need to know that I matter to you and you see me, really see me and care before that happens. That's the part that men and women struggle with. And we talked about that last podcast.
Yeah, yeah. And then the last one is kind of like sitting down together and creating goals for your relationship, right? How do you want your relationship to look 5 years from now, 10 years from now, right? And how can you help each other achieve that goal? How are we going to get there, right? What am I going to work on changing? What are you going to work on changing so that we can be closer, be more intimate, resolve conflict faster? Right?
Absolutely. That's so good, Rachel. I also like the idea too, yeah, keeping that love alive and keeping your relationship connected. And those 5 year goals, like retirement home or not retirement for us yet, but I mean, just what does that look like? What do you want to be doing in 20 years? Do you want to be sitting on the porch at a beach? What do you see yourself doing? A lot of times we don't ask each other about these future goals
Right.
because we're in
Yeah.
survival. But
Yeah. It's like, what are we gonna do this weekend? Or do we have plans? Do we need to be somewhere?
what are we
That's about as
eating
far as
today?
we get. Yeah. Where are we going for Thanksgiving dinner? Right. Not
Nowhere.
thinking years in advance. Yeah, nowhere this year.
Yes. So, um, yeah, like, do you want to be fishing or do you want to be in a mountain? Where do you want to be? And what are your goals? Like, do you want to still be working where you're working? And, you know, I think discovering your spouse's passion will help you guys connect. Oh, well, how can I get you to, get your pilot's license to fly? How can I get you that? What would that look like? Or, becoming a pro bass fisherman or whatever, how do I get you to reach your goal? So it's not always a couple goal, but it's also what is it that you want and are passionate about?
Yeah, I love that. Like encouraging and supporting each other to be the best version of yourself individually. Too.
Well stated. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that kind of wraps up. Oh, did you have more commentary, Miss Rachel?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah.
You are good.
7 conversations.
Yes, we love EFT and we believe in the model and we trust the model. If you or your spouse or someone needs couples work, Rachel and I do this work with our couples and we want to help you guys be close and keep your love alive in your marriage. And it's a lot of work, but we got the skills and the training to teach you how to do that. And we appreciate you joining us for our last podcast of the Hold Me Tight series. So
Yeah. Thank you.
thank you. Bye.